Hello, my name is Marco from Culiacan. Let's learn together the memory verse from Lesson 4 found in Joshua chapter 10, verse 14. And there was no day like that before it or after it, that the Lord hearkened unto the voice of a man, for the Lord fought for Israel. God bless you.
The scene of the heavenly commander who appeared to Joshua on the plains of Jericho was, in reality, a window into a much greater battle than the one before his eyes. Joshua was thinking of an earthly war with walls, armies, and spears, but God showed him that the real struggle had cosmic dimensions. Human wars, even those in which God's people participated under his direction, were only reflections of a much deeper spiritual conflict, the great controversy between Christ and Satan. This conflict did not begin in Canaan or on earth, but in heaven itself. There, a being of incomparable splendor, the highest of angels, decided to challenge divine order. Lucifer, filled with pride, sought to occupy the Creator's place. Thus began the rebellion that planted the seed of evil in the universe. Since then, every story of confrontation, disobedience, or redemption has its roots in that original war. Understanding this reality changes how we perceive our own battles. The daily struggles we face against sin, injustice, doubt, or temptation are not mere human conflicts. They are extensions of that spiritual war in which heaven itself is engaged. Recognizing this gives us perspective, humility, and hope, because we know that the same God who commanded the heavenly army still fights for us today. Welcome, my name is Augusto Palacios, and this is Studying the Lesson. Monday, October 20th. War in Heaven. The book of Revelation offers the clearest description of the origin of this cosmic conflict. There was war in heaven, book of Revelation chapter 12 verse 7. In a scene that transcends human understanding, the angels of God fought against Lucifer's followers, the cherub who had been created perfect, but whose heart was filled with pride. The rebellion was not an accident but a deliberate choice. The gift of free will, essential for love, became the stage on which evil was conceived. Lucifer, desiring God's throne, twisted freedom into selfishness and worship into ambition. The book of Isaiah chapter 14 reveals the magnitude of his fall. Although the text is directed to the king of Babylon, it uses language that transcends the human. I will ascend to heaven. I will make myself like the Most High. No earthly monarch could embody such aspiration. Here we see the heart of rebellion, the desire for absolute autonomy, to be God without depending on God. That same attitude repeats in every human sin. Every time man chooses his own will over God's, he echoes the same "I will ascend" that began the universal tragedy. The book of Ezekiel chapter 20th, referring to the king of Tyre, completes the picture. It presents him as a cherub walking among fiery stones, adorned with precious gems, perfect in all his ways until iniquity was found in him. His wisdom was corrupted because of his splendor. In this description we see the sharpest contrast in creation: beauty turned into arrogance, perfection deformed by pride. Lucifer did not fall from weakness but from misused strength. The brightest creature became the darkest because he wanted to shine with his own light. The book of Revelation chapter 12 verse 9 summarizes the consequences. The great dragon was cast down to the earth, and with him, his angels. Since then, humanity has become the battlefield of the universe. But this is not a conflict between equal forces. The heavenly war did not question God's power but his character. Satan sought to discredit divine justice, portraying the Creator as a tyrant and sin as freedom. God, in his infinite wisdom, chose to respond not with immediate destruction but with redemption. He allowed evil to manifest itself so that the universe could understand, by contrast, the holiness of his love. The prophet Daniel gives us a closer look at how this conflict affects earth. In the book of Daniel chapter 10, a heavenly being reveals to the prophet that demonic forces resist God's work among the nations. "The prince of the kingdom of Persia resisted me 21 days, said the messenger, showing that behind human empires are spiritual powers trying to frustrate divine plans. This is the invisible dimension of history. Political movements, moral crises, and wars are not only human, they reflect a spiritual battle over the destiny of the world. That is why Israel's wars, when approved by God, were not campaigns of ambition or conquest, but visible expressions of an invisible conflict. Canaan was more than land, it was a moral battleground. Every victory of Israel under divine command was a declaration of God's sovereignty over demonic powers trying to usurp his creation. Likewise, every act of faithfulness by believers today is a victory of the kingdom of heaven over the forces of darkness. This conflict also explains why the Christian life is a constant struggle. Paul calls it the good fight of faith, First Book of Timothy chapter 6 verse 12, and urges believers to put on the whole armor of God, Book of Ephesians chapter 6 verse 11. We do not fight against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers. This war is not won with swords but with prayer, obedience, and faith. The battlefield is not in heaven or in Canaan but in the human heart, where it is decided daily whether Christ or self will sit on the throne. Even in the midst of the struggle, the message is clear: we are not alone. The same commander who appeared to Joshua still leads the heavenly army. The angels who once fought for God's honor now fight for the salvation of the redeemed. The book of Hebrews chapter 1 verse 14 calls them ministering spirits sent to serve those who will inherit salvation. This truth should fill us with confidence: there are more with us than against us. The great conflict will end as it began, with an act of divine justice. The book of Revelation chapter 20 describes the final judgment, when Satan and his followers will be destroyed and the universe will be purified. Then the eternal purpose of God will be fulfilled, a restored cosmos where love reigns without opposition. Until that day, every act of obedience, every sincere prayer, every step of faith amid trial, is part of the victory that Christ already secured on the cross. There, the commander of heaven triumphed definitively over the enemy, and since then, every knee shall bow before him, not out of fear but out of love. The message that resounds from the walls of Jericho to the visions of Revelation is the same: the Lord's battles are not fought with human power but with divine presence. Joshua understood that his war was part of a cosmic struggle. We must understand that our lives are as well. And just as he bowed before the commander, we too are called to surrender before Christ, who, with a drawn sword, still fights for us. Join me on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and X. From Sunday to Friday, we post 2 questions daily, at 2 p.m. and 8 p.m., to reinforce what we learn and inspire participation. Your comments make a difference and enrich our study. Join the conversation and share your reflections with all of us.